Well, if you ask why democracy needs protecting today, I would first like to say that usually democracy doesn't need protecting. Democracy protects itself. And the idea is that even if ideas that are unfriendly to democracy or even despise it, even if they come up, that usually in the democratic process, these ideas do not succeed. They erase themselves or aberrate themselves. And so I think in the general processing mode of democracy, democracy protects itself via its institutions, via public discourse, and it has kind of a self-immunizing power. But in certain circumstances, when these kind of assumptions about how democracy functions, when they do not prevail, when they fail in unusual circumstances, then maybe democracy needs protection. And then there might be a good reason to have mechanisms to protect democratic institutions and democracy itself. If you ask what are the best mechanisms to protect democracy in these unusual circumstances that the self-immunizing powers of democracy fail, there is no really good answer to it, because all these mechanisms are ambivalent, because they always intervene in a way also in the democratic processes, and standard means like the prohibition of associations, of political parties, they are always ambivalent. And you have to be really careful when to employ them, and you have to be very careful how you go about with them. So a lot speaks in favor of very high constitutional hurdles to even be able to employ these mechanisms. And the one hurdle, they are on the kind of material side of things. When do you intervene? Can you already intervene if somebody just voices an unconstitutional idea? That's not the model that the German Constitution, for example, has. You can have as many unconstitutional ideas as you like. You can even voice them. You can even have assemblies where you want to promote them. Where the German Constitution steps in is when these tendencies, when they galvanize around institutions, when they form institutional contexts like associations, like parties. And when that happens, when you can see that these self-immunization mechanisms that democracy under regular circumstances have, that they fail, then under high formal hurdles you can resort to these instruments. And our Federal Constitutional Court has been very reluctant, for example, to prohibit parties. What is the contribution of my department in these discussions? Actually, it's very close to these protective mechanisms of the Constitution, but also very close to analyzing the ambivalences. And so we have projects that deal with how can you accommodate the secrecy of security services and the secrecy under which they functionally sometimes have to operate. How can you square this with transparency requirements of democracy? What kind of mechanisms can you develop? How you can ensure the accountability of these agencies that on the one hand are employed for protecting the Constitution, but on the other hand can be very dangerous for democratic processes because their work is by their very nature not transparent to the public. So this is one of the projects that we have. Then we have projects in how very concretely you can detect threats to the constitutional order by extremists, and what kind of mechanisms you can employ under which legal circumstances, for example, to screen or to evaluate certain persons who have been in the crosshairs of the agencies.